graduated in 2013, and I went away from TV, not on purpose, I just ended up in film. So I work as a third AD on major feature films. The Eternals, which hasn't come out yet, it's the new Marvel superhero one. The one before that was 1917, and the one before that was Star Wars Episode 9.
I'm Stu. I graduated in 2018, went straight out of uni into a freelance job as a camera assistant on Emmerdale, moved back up north to Leeds and had a bit of time on that, and that was a good experience out in the cold northern weather, dragging cables through fields and all that kind of stuff, but realised that wasn't really for me, so I stopped doing that and tried to freelance for a bit, but found it quite difficult. Then I applied to be a junior production coordinator at Sky Sports, got that, dropped everything and moved down to London, and then in August last year got promoted to production coordinator, and so now I mainly work on Sky Sports Golf as a production coordinator, so I do all the planning, pre-planning and kind of logistics of the production. And then most recently, I've been doing a bit of stuff on Premier League because it's been really busy with COVID and stuff like that. So been organising travel for the Premier League, doing PPE across all sports, providing all of the masks and sanitisers and all that kind of stuff to all of our outside broadcasts. And then also been doing a bit of PM work on NBC's coverage of the Tour de France, which we've been doing some commentary back at Sky, working with our friends over at NBC in Stanford in America. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm Jack. I graduated in 2018, same as Stuart. Since graduating, I've stayed local to the area. I've been working freelance at two companies around here called Topical TV and Woodcut Media. I'm currently working as a shooting researcher on a daytime BBC show, which is kind of a blue lights show, emergency service sort of thing. So I kind of just find stories to have on the show and try and track the people down, and then sort of go and film interviews with them and that sort of thing, really. And before that, at Woodcut Media, I was working on a documentary series called World's Most Evil Killers, and it was sort of setting up all the recon shoots and sort of finding people to play the serial killers and props and locations and all that sort of thing, really.
So yeah, my name's Rory. I graduated in 2019. I did the studio unit as my specialism, and right now I'm a floor manager for the shopping channels Ideal World and Create and Craft.
So I graduated in 2012 along with James and Tim, and I am now a production manager for comedy entertainment shows. So pretty much any panel show you've probably seen on Dave or BBC or Channel 4, I've probably worked on it. I've definitely made my way through the different shows there, and currently working on a new comedy panel show for Comedy Central.
Graduated in 2012. Shortly after then, I moved over to the US. I currently live about an hour and a half away, or an hour-ish away from San Francisco. But I left Solon and kind of came over here, and first thing I did was provided video support to cheerleading events and did that all over the US. So I was media support to all those kinds of events, as well as sustaining a freelance business, kind of helping charities, nonprofits, wherever I could.
Graduated in 2020, so I'm the most recent graduate here. I tried to start my own company for videography, and then I recently got a job at an esports company. So I work under a YouTuber, and he's sort of a Facebook streamer as well. And he runs esports for Fortnite and Warzone. But yeah, I do mostly marketing for that. And then I run the streams for that as well. And all of the money from those goes to gaming for autism and kids with special educational needs.
I graduated in 2012 with Fiona and James, and I left and took the quite traditional route in factual and documentary telly, which is kind of runner, researcher, AP of it. So about 2 years ago, I sort of sidestepped into being just camera only. So I'm essentially a factual documentary camera operator, DOP, and work on stuff like First Dates for Channel 4, Naked Attraction, and I'm doing quite a lot more of adventure and expedition work. So yeah, that's me. So what from that is that most of that, or at least the early stages of it, were sort of made possible by what we learned at Solent, both in skill set and approach and attitude to things, I think.
Two of the things that were really helpful for me was, one, being actually in a studio, having that environment. So when we did go into an actual broadcast studio, it wasn't so intimidating. It felt like I kind of knew where things were. I understood what a gallery was and all that sort of thing. I thought that was I think that's really important for someone who does studio shows. That was so important for me.
I think that our course, especially for our year, I don't know about other, like you guys' year, but you work with so many different people all the time, and you become, like Jack is still my, like, you know, is in my best friendship group kind of thing, and we've all stuck together, and you know, we've all done this course together, we've all worked together, and you speak to so many different people. And I'd say in a job like mine, where you have to speak to so many people every single day, it's given me like that skill to be able to speak to everybody, and you don't even realize that you're learning that, but just by doing all of your studio shows and being put in different groups to just talk about television and make documentaries and stuff like that, it's just giving you those skills that you don't even think about.
My advice, and I was guilty of doing this, is that I was like, oh, I want to be producer or series producer or whatever, and I didn't really care about editing. Or I remember there was one day where everyone was getting out a crane dolly, whatever, to put together, and I was thinking, I don't want to do this. I'm not gonna, sorry guys, I swear I did concentrate, but I was a bit like, I'm not gonna be able, I don't want to do that with my life, like I'm not gonna. But then cut to someone's asking you to go and get the, you know, dolly head or this, that and the other, because you will start out as a runner and you will be doing that stuff. You will be getting all these different bits of equipment or whatever. So even if you're not necessarily thinking like, okay, I'm going to end up as a grip and I'm going to be putting all this stuff together, it's really worth listening and learning those things, because it will come back round to you.
For me, as a DOP, when I'm getting brought onto a project now to light and shoot, it's so obvious when production coordinators have some technical understanding. It's stuff like cards and formats and codecs, and because production coordinators, you know immediately whether they do or don't. It's so obvious, and it's such a joy when people, and the same way around, it's presumably a joy for production coordinators and PMs when camera operators and DOPs and other crew understand all the scheduling problems and feeding problems and things that we don't. It's not really our job to worry about, but we know that it can be a drama, and then there's a bit of understanding everywhere, and it helps things.
Definitely helps.
I think something else the course is really good for as well. You've all literally got like tens and thousands of pounds worth of free kit you can literally borrow whenever you want. Like when I first started in your position, I literally did not have a clue how to turn it on. And now I'm using the same sort of kit to actually film for like properly for TV. And like it's the stuff you can borrow for free is so expensive to hire. Like some of the Steadicams you'd be paying like £1,000 a day for, and you can just keep getting out for free and practice and practice and practice. It's really like such a valuable thing.
If you really enjoy stuff like Steadicam and stuff, if you get your Steadicam certification, you are then invaluable to people, because not as many people have that. So you're more likely to get hired for a job if you've got that certification rather than somebody that's used it once.
That's true. I remember when I was a runner and I started, and I had on my CV, I don't touch cameras anymore, but when we did camera work at uni, and I can't remember what camera it was, but you know, I understood these cameras, and that put me ahead of people, because they wanted people to, you know, help out doing behind the scenes filming or more things like that. And actually I knew how to do that. So that got me in a lot of places. So that was massive help at uni as well.
One of my first jobs when I came out of uni was a runner on Britain's Got Talent. And I was one of 50, can I just say, one of 50 runners helping out at open auditions, just at like Wembley Stadium or whatever, getting all these people in. And I don't know whether it was my CV or whether it was just me as a person or knowledgeable, but I think there was maybe 5 of us that got asked to do the live shows, you know, when they then go into the studio and do like a week of live shows or whatever. And I would put it down to the fact that I maybe had a bit more experience or confidence in knowing, being like, yeah, I know how a studio runs and I know certain situations. I don't know, I just think I spent so much time in that studio. It really does help.
You've got a lot of growing over the next 3 years, and you just got to try as many things as possible before it's over.
I would definitely agree with that. Try, even if you've got a really firm idea of what you are going to uni to do, don't get too hung up on it. I spent a large part of my time at Solent pretty determined that what I wanted to do for work was studio directing, multi-camera studio directing, and it turns out that it wasn't. That isn't eventually where I wanted to go with my career. Turned it down, but probably didn't capitalize on other opportunities to broaden my overall rounded experience, because I was sure that's what I wanted to do, and then that ultimately isn't what I ended up doing. It wasn't enormously detrimental, I don't think, but I could probably have made myself a more rounded individual coming out of uni if I'd sort of been a little less funneled from me being like, because I remember looking around the uni and being like, Solent's got the facilities to support developing the things that I want to develop specifically. So really from the outset, I was so focused on that.
I would note that if you have any ideas for anything like TV shows, documentaries, like films that you want to make, write them down, because that's going to come up in the next couple of years. You'll be asked to make a documentary or a TV show or a film or whatever.
I tried to imagine how much I missed out on that first week by worrying what people thought of me. I was so wrapped up in, oh man, I hope people like me. I hope that, I hope that I don't come across as an idiot. I hope that I don't mess my first relationships up at university, whatever it was. I spent so much time worrying about that. And in hindsight, I dread to think how much I missed out on because I was so wrapped up in that.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. At the end of the day, you're going to university to learn how to do something. So you don't need to be afraid to ask questions. You're not expected to know everything.
You have to be really adaptable and not panic and not flap. Like, you need someone with, like, you need to be cool-headed and be like, cool, this is happening, this is how we change it. You can't just carry on complaining about it. You have to deal with it.
Like, I think when it comes to just the university experience in general, regardless of the course, all of that, I think the most important thing you can do is just be yourself to the absolute fullest. This is one of like the first opportunities that you get as a young adult to really kind of steer the ship, do what you want to do. So why not just go for it? Just be you, get out there, and you'll meet so many cool people who are on exactly the same like wave as you. George's point, you kind of said earlier, the best kind of work experience that I think is probably available now anywhere in the world is what you decide to make. Like, go make something, go shoot something, go, I know it's not going to be the same as the work experience you'd get on a film set, in a TV studio, sports OB, whatever it is, but it's better than nothing. And when it, like, I guess like on the more course type stuff, I suppose it's easy whenever you start to put a lot of pressure on yourself to have what you're going to do after uni already figured out. When I would just say, don't even sweat it. I didn't figure out that I wanted to do floor management, which is what I do now, until about 2 months before I actually left uni. So this is just a good opportunity just to relax and try as many different things as you possibly can. And as you grow and develop, then over time you may start to pinpoint what it is that you want to do, but it's not worth fretting about right now.
Uni is work experience. You are learning, you're doing it practically. When you go onto a shoot or something, you wouldn't be able to touch any of the equipment. You wouldn't be able to get involved. You'd have to sit and watch. Whereas the work experience that you're doing at uni is actually practical and knowledgeable.
One of the things that I kind of mainly look for are the people that can look at a problem, face a problem or a challenge or something that may not be going quite right, and say, oh, good. How are we going to solve this? This is an opportunity to overcome something.
Initiative. If you can see that the way the day is working, or you see what is coming up, or I'll say to a runner, after this shot, we're going to be turning around. And that runner sort of looks back and sees that there's bins in shot, or there's cones, or there's something that needs to move. And they've already done that by the time we start turning around. that's like golden for me, because it's just being able to do stuff without necessarily being told. They're now trying to implement mental health officers to always be on set. It's not just a medic that you go to or someone, it's to someone to literally come up to you and say, hey, how are you doing today? Are you okay? Because a lot of people don't realize how much triggering stuff can happen on set. Those 9 o'clock lectures that you think are early are not early. They want you to be on set at work at 5 a.m., which means leaving at 4 a.m. to get to where you need to go. And you're not going to wrap until 7, 8 o'clock at night. So what I would also say is, and I was very guilty of it when I first started out, the film industry is huge right now, and there's so much work going on that you kind of want to do everything. I was like, oh my God, I want to do this film, I want to do this film, and people will offer you days. You know, you could do a week on Batman, just looking after the crowd in between your contracted job. And actually, you need that week off. You need a holiday. You need time. There will be other films. There will be other TV shows. There'll be other things to do. There's no point of trying to cramming it all in and damaging your life and your relationships for that. Like, it obviously go out and work, but your life matters too. And it's taken me a long time to understand that.